Hello, and welcome to a new Vanguard Zero video. It's been a long time since I've done one of those, isn't it? About a year since the last time I actually did it, and a lot longer than that since I did consistent Vanguard Zero content. Vanguard Zero was one of the things that really made me keep going with this channel. Back in the day, right before Vanguard Zero released, I was kind of considering just either stopping with the channel entirely or just slowing down with the content. But then Vanguard Zero released, more specifically the open beta that I managed to get into. And I was like, hey, I'm a really big Vanguard fan. I always wanted to play Vanguard Zero. Why not record myself playing it? And those videos did really well. Like, some of my best videos ever in regards to viewer retention. People just kept coming back over and over again for Vanguard Zero. And, like, it kind of formed a bit of a community, you know? Like, you guys started interacting with me a lot. My channel blew up quite a bit in popularity. And, like, I started interacting with, like, other Cardfight Vanguard content creators. I'd watch people streaming this game on Twitch by just going down the Vanguard Zero category and just picking out any streamers that caught my interest. Even ones that, like, didn't really have any viewers. And very consistently, like, it became predictable at the point, even though it was shocking the first time it happened. I would just talk in the chat about how much I liked the game. And people would be like, oh, it's Asterisk, I know you. And I'd be like, what? You know me? And it was really cool. It was kind of a big deal for my channel. And some of those content creators were ones that I followed for ages. And to see them just recognize me was really cool. Some of these creators would be people like 50 Cards, Charles Dinkle, Speed Robo, and yes, even Different Fight, Winning Image. Like, there were so many different content creators, big or small, that we kind of like interacted and set up these cool events and so on and so forth. It was really fun. But you know where this is going. You've read the title. You've probably seen the news too. Vanguard Zero is over. Vanguard Zero has been officially announced to be closing down at the end of June, with all of the monetization being cut off in May. Both the English and the Japanese version at the same time. And this is kind of like a little bit bittersweet for me because, let's face it, this game has its ups and downs. Looking at it on its surface, with the benefit of hindsight and everything involved, this game probably wasn't a very good game, you know, like, especially once it hit its G era and the G res became so impossibly difficult to grind for. Speaking of grinding, this game became a grind. The only thing there was ever to do was grind ranked mode. And if you weren't winning, you weren't progressing, and it made losses feel really bad. Which is a shame, because in a card game, at least in my opinion, in a good card game, you should still feel good about a loss, because a loss teaches you about yourself and your deck, and it kind of makes it so that you can improve in future. You know, losses are mandatory, they're needed. You've never met someone who's literally never lost at a card game. And I think that was honestly one of this game's biggest failings, was the way ranked mode was set up. In that, like, you had to win to progress ranked mode. And once you hit, like, S rank or whatever it is, it's been so long since I played this game that I genuinely don't remember how everything works anymore. But, like, once you hit legend rank, that was it. Once you hit legend rank, if you won, your rank would go up, but if you lost, your rank would go down again. And if you were grinding for the seasonal, like, ranking rewards, then losses felt bad, which meant that you had to you had to play whatever the meta deck was. And as someone who doesn't come to card games for meta decks, for someone who comes to card games to see what all of the cool, unique, and creative decks are, and just have a bit of fun. Just constantly being recommended to grind whatever the big meta deck was at the time. It felt bad, you know? Like, it created this system where, because it was a gacha game, it was hard to grind for the deck you wanted. And then, to build even more decks, you'd have to get the triple rare boss units from grinding ranked mode. But to grind ranked mode, you'd have to consistently win and get a lot more wins than losses. And to do that, you would need to build whatever the meta ranked deck was. At least that was the easiest way of doing it. You weren't really guaranteed a climb with any deck that wasn't the meta one. And so we reached eras like the Majesty Lord Blaster one, where everyone was just spamming the same deck over and over again. And I think over the course of the game, that was the thing that made it go from, oh cool, I could play Cardfight Vanguard on my phone, to just the grind, you know, especially, and I think the final nail in Vanguard Zero's coffin was when they stubbornly added a new rarity that was even harder to grind for. You couldn't even get it from grinding rank season. I know I've got like a bunch of items and stuff right now because it's been a while since I played. I literally uninstalled the game quietly a little over a year ago. You're probably thinking this is a Vanguard Zero channel, at least it has been for the longest time. Why didn't you tell us that you unsubscribed? Not that you unsubscribed, but that you uninstalled. People even asked me where the Vanguard Zero videos. And the reason I didn't tell anyone at the time that I uninstalled was because I knew people were gonna smugly bombard me with, just wait, you'll be back, kind of comments. And that has happened before. There have been times where I've like committed to one thing in regards to the channel, and people were skeptical of me being able to commit to it, and I didn't. I came back immediately. So around a year or so ago, when I finally got fed up with the game and uninstalled it, I just didn't really tell anyone. I think I may have done like a tweet on Twitter, but like I didn't tell my YouTube audience. Because I didn't want to fall into this like smug, like, heh, you'll be back. And who knows, maybe I would have been back. Speaking of, I'm back. The only reason I'm back isn't because I've changed my opinion of the game or anything. It's a mix between sentimentality, you know, this game was kind of what brought this channel to where it was, and kind of got me out of that rut. But also because there's only like 2 months left, and so I kind of got to take advantage of it, because that's the thing. Not only is this game not getting any new updates, but it's just closing down entirely, meaning this game will be completely unplayable from this point on. It would have been nice if they kind of could have kept it around, just kept the servers up but didn't do anything else, like absolutely zero new content, but just let people cardfight each other, for the sake of archival, really. But I understand why that wasn't really possible. So yeah, no, that's kind of it. The game's done now, and it does feel pretty bittersweet, you know? Would I have liked to have seen them instead do an update that addresses the problems of the game? Absolutely. But they were kind of in a difficult situation because they just got to the end of the G content, and like the original and G era in Vanguard were like two of the most beloved Vanguard eras, and like what were they gonna do next? Do the reboot era, which was one of the more controversial eras of Vanguard history, which it's already a gacha game, and a gacha game adapting one of the more controversial eras of Vanguard probably wouldn't have gone down all that well, especially because, well, it would have just been the same cards we already had in the game, really. Grinding for cards that we already owned would have been a bit weird. And I know the reboot era does have a lot different from the original, but to a casual player, that's what it would have came across as. They could have done the Overdress era, which I guess Overdress does have quite a lot of content now. It's got quite a lot of sets, and that would last a few months. But eventually it'd run out, and then they'd have to figure out what to do after that. And let's face it, creating brand new original cards, at least full sets worth of brand new original cards just for Zero, wasn't really realistically going to happen. At the very least, they were never going to do like new artwork for a full set's worth of cards. It just wasn't going to happen. And yeah, the only other real option was to just cancel it, and that's what they did. Um, I guess before I go, I want to very quickly talk about, was this game a success and what's next? Because honestly, people are kind of dancing on this game's grave a bit. And I kind of see it, for sure. This game definitely had a lot of flaws, and I don't begrudge you for dancing on this game's grave. But honestly, I kind of reckon that this game was successful. Because this game has been out for over 3 years in both JP and English servers. And I know that at the height of its popularity, it was a really popular game. So I definitely don't think this game was like a loss for Bushiroad. It probably profited them quite a bit. That's probably one of the reasons why they're so ready and eager to say goodbye to it. Is it existed, it made them some money, now it's time to say goodbye, rather than like, you know, struggling and desperately fighting to keep it profitable. You know, I think Bushiroad understood that like the height of its popularity came and went, and it wasn't really going to become relevant again without really fighting for it. People moved on very quickly. Remember, this game released right at the beginning of COVID in English, which was like the perfect storm because it was impossible to play Vanguard with people back then. You know, like there were no other games or clients really for playing it other than like Tabletop Simulator and Cardfight Arena, and none of those were really like ideal. So having this mobile game as a way to replace going out to a real card shop and playing against people, yeah, I could see why this game is so popular. But that need, like that use, has kind of faded. I did like a joke tweet a little while ago, over a year ago, back when Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel released, where I very tongue-in-cheek said that what was going to happen with Vanguard in response to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel was doing so well at the time, was that Game Studio were going to pull the plug on Vanguard Zero once G ended, and have Game Studio make their own, like, Master Duel-like PC client. I don't necessarily think that prediction's true. We did already get Double Days, and Dear Days. Why does it have such a bad name? I keep forgetting what its own name is. It's a terrible name for a game when people forget what the name is. Dear Days. We got Dear Days, which wasn't really like a proper client. It was more of a story-focused game. It wasn't really like the online service kind of gacha thing like Master Duel was. And it probably flopped. It probably flopped way worse than Vanguard Zero, to be honest, because who's paying that much for a game? I didn't even buy it, and I'm a Vanguard content creator. And also, like, goodwill with game studios being burned. You know, like, they've had kind of an awful track record, especially with handling Vanguard Zero and their weird, nonsensical choices in regards to it. So I don't know if we're ever going to see a game studio Vanguard game like this again. Maybe. Who knows? It could always certainly happen. But I'm not particularly hopeful for it. I do hope that Bushiroad announce something, anything, just to make this announcement right now feel a lot less depressing. But at the same time, that's just what happens. From the very day that this game was announced, we all knew it's a gacha game, it's eventually going to be shut down, and even if you're someone who isn't into Vanguard Zero, there's a good chance you're into a gacha game, or a live service game, or a mobile game, or whatever, and eventually that game is going to die the same death. It's going to stop receiving updates, and then it's just going to have its servers completely pulled. So basically just treasure it while you can, I guess. I did a video similar to this when Bushiroad announced the cancellation of Future Card Buddy Fight, and that one was a lot more frustrated and sad. This one's a little sad just because of the sentimentality of like me making Vanguard Zero content for so long. You know, it really does feel like that period of my life is over, like I was a completely different person back then. And so it does feel weird to say goodbye to it from that point of view. But at the same time, I'll get over it, you know, like Nowadays, I still think about how cool it would have been if Bushiroad kept the buddy fight alive. And I do still think the buddy fight was still salvageable, more than salvageable at the time of its cancellation. Vanguard Zero, it's more of a, this was inevitable. This was going to happen. I kind of predicted exactly this would happen multiple times a very long time ago. And I saw people very smugly being like, nah, they'll just move over to the reboot. The reboot's really popular. And, well, I guess I'm the one that's right. Anyway, for now, I guess that's where I want to end this video. All I really want to say is I might make some new videos about Vanguard Zero in the next couple months. I know that sounds very weird, but like I said, the game's being taken down entirely with no ways of playing it anymore. And so the moment that was announced, I kind of had to reinstall it again, because we've only got 2 months left of this game. And even though my opinions aren't the most positive towards it, I do have a lot of sentimentality for it. And just the idea that like it's going to be completely unplayable forever in 2 months is very sad. So I kind of want to like get the most of the game in the meantime, and also archive it, you know, like recording myself playing it will serve as a pretty good archive for people in future to see what the game was like. I've obviously done plenty of that over the last couple years, but I think now more than ever it's important to kind of preserve what the current state of the game was right as it was cancelled. So yeah, maybe I'll make some Vanguard Zero videos over the next couple months. Let me know if there's anything you want to see me do in Vanguard Zero in the next couple months. And also, yes, absolutely, give me your thoughts on Vanguard Zero as a whole, and what your opinions were of it, both positive and negative. I would be very interested to read those. And maybe Bushiroad could see them and read them and take them into account when they inevitably make another Vanguard game. Because there's kind of a chance they could see this. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I was one of the biggest Vanguard Zero content creators, hehe. But yeah, that's gonna be where I leave you for today. It is kind of sad to say goodbye, but on the other hand, it is absolutely deserved. The game didn't really fight to live very much near the end. But yeah, remember, for every statement, there's always an asterisk. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that other great stuff. I highly doubt anyone's finding me and subscribing to me via this video, since I already made a lot of Vanguard Zero content in the past. And I'll see you later. Goodbye.